Welcome to Our Drummers Musicians. I'm your host Luke. This week, I'm joined by the laid-back and legendary Gormie, audio engineer, producer, and bass player. Rocking some seriously cool New Balance sneakers and blue and green socks, Gormie brought a great vibe to this conversation as we dived into his journey with music, recording concepts, and the art of getting a great sound. We talked about his studio setups, working as an engineer and producer, and his experiences touring and recording with Angie McMahon. What I didn't expect? A whole lot of Bruce Springsteen chat, which I didn't mind, and a little less tour talk than I'd anticipated, given that Gormie had just returned from a big run on the road. But what we did get was an authentic, thoughtful conversation about music, creativity, and life as an artist in Melbourne. The second half of the episode takes a deeper turn. We open up about struggles with alcoholism, mental health, insecurities, anxiety, and how these challenges impact our lives in music. We also touch on my own experience with long COVID. It's an honest and vulnerable chat that I really appreciated, and I'm grateful for Gormie for his generosity, encouragement, and wisdom. I hope you enjoy.
Hello, Pop. What's your name again?
Scout.
Scout. You're a cute doggy. I have a little chihuahua.
Oh, wow. How old?
4.
Cool.
Little Pomeranian chihuahua, Freddie, and he's increasingly at sessions as well. And yeah, it's good. I guess it's good to ask, but come on, look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Scout is just like
What kind of dog is this?
a Basenji.
Basenji.
So she's really keen to check out what's going on, but if you want her to come to you, she's not interested.
Yeah.
But she'll come to you on her own terms.
Yeah. No, I think she can tell that I'm a dog person. I love dogs.
I'm glad. If it ever gets too much, let me know.
No, not at all. This is exactly what Freddie's like. Freddie's just a little bit smaller, but this is nice. I'm all about dogs.
Does Freddie like the recording sessions?
Yeah, I think so. Can you smell? If only you had a visual of what's going on. I'm getting checked out hard. Yeah, Freddie's pretty good. He gets bored though.
Okay.
So when I have him out at the studio, the recording studio, he'll chill for a bit and then he'll just want to get out.
Okay.
And then he'll stand at the door and he'll kind of sob. So he's not as good as my old dog, Mickey, who was a really old Chihuahua Pomeranian. He was deaf and he would just sit there and you could be blasting drums and loud bass and stuff and he couldn't hear it. So
wow.
He was the best studio dog. But Freddie, he's on his, I guess he's on his way.
Yeah.
But he's good. Everyone loves Freddie.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a nice, Scout almost becomes a therapy dog. Just comes in, cuddles under your arm or sits in your lap and it's just
Yeah, they make you feel good.
Right?
Yeah. Nah, the dog's good. 10 points already. Best podcast I've ever been on.
Because what's your studio setup? You've got a mixing room in Collingwood and a studio out in Pakenham. Is that the vibe?
Yeah, kind of. So it sounds like I'm this big shot, high rolling mogul, but it's really not the way. And I'm glad I'm here so I can explain. I can plead my case. I fell into the Collingwood space.
Okay.
So when I started my music production, when I fell into music production, I was renting a small space at this Collingwood place off the person who had the lease, he was a music lover, but he was not really involved in the music scene other than he played in bands and he loved bands coming. So he built this production, it was a band, a jam room in this Collingwood warehouse. So I started going there with my band at the time. And then one day, someone who was doing pottery in that space, he had this little pottery, this really crappy box that was built and covered in AstroTurf. He was like, "Oh, my pottery person is moving on to bigger and better things. So do you want to take that and you can do your mixing and stuff in there?" And I just did that. So I stuck around
Wow.
long enough for when he decided to leave. He's like, do you want to take the lease over? And then I did that. So
Cool.
then I converted his room and built a new one, and then later down the track built myself a new room. So there's now 4 rooms in that space.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's kind of what led me to you, because Gab Strum, the Japanese wallpaper, he was the person that put me in contact with all the people that are in there now.
Right.
Because I didn't have any tenants really, and I had met Gab, pretty recently at the time, and he was like, I'm looking for a new place. So he was the first one, and then he's like, why don't you hit up Hamish? And why don't you hit up, Trav, because he's got this company and blah, blah, blah. And he just kind of helped me put the whole thing together.
Wow.
So, yeah, now it's just a bunch of producers, mixers, touring musicians. It's like a home base. So most of my work is just, I have a small room about the size of, about this big. That's just my mix room.
Yep.
So, because I do a lot of mixing as well as recording. So that's the main one. So all of the people that rent that just help me stay there for cheap.
Sure.
Because there's no way I could just run a studio in Collingwood. I feel like no one can really do that anymore. It's just so expensive.
Yeah.
So we all just kind of hang out there and do individual things.
Yeah. What a great initiative.
It's really cool. And like I said, I guess it took it was a bit of a pain in the butt to set up, and had to go into a bit of debt to do it. But I just love living in the city. So as much as I love the other space where I met Lucy with Gush, that space is it's at the back of my parents' place. They live up in the hills, and the house block isn't that big. Like, it's just like a half acre or something. And my dad, who's a builder, he built this crazy studio on stilts. And it's like, because he's a really artistic guy. And he was like, he's always looking for a project. So probably about 10 years ago, he's like, he kind of knew that, I was taking music a bit more seriously. He's like, I want to build a studio.
Yeah, right.
This was before I was kind of doing anything, but it was just like this long-term project. And then it just kind of, the timing worked out good. Like, just when I started to take it seriously and just be like, I want to record bands, he was like, oh, cool, here's this space.
Wow.
And we just kind of slowly chipped away at it over probably 10 years. And then as it got closer and closer to it being finished, it was kind of like, well, yeah, let's build a little drum booth in the corner, and, let's put, acoustic treatment in it and put wiring in it and stuff. And then it just turned into a studio.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How cool.
It's really cool. I'm really lucky. Like, and again, like, because it's at my parents' place, I'm able to do it,
Yeah.
Looking at just the climate of what people can spend their money on these days. It's just like, I don't know how any other studio is doing it. And like, lots of studios are closing down, like, because of it, like, it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
It's kind of impossible. Unless you have these funny twists of fate that allow you to do it.
Yeah, that's great though, because like the whole
good.
industry's changing with like
Totally. Every day.
we're not getting like the money to like be put forward by a record label.
No.
And
What's that?
yeah, right. It's like, oh no, it'll only come in at the end once you've already done all that stuff.
Yeah, show us the thing and then pay for it, and then maybe we'll we'll buy it.
I got a reel came up on my Instagram from an old like bass player friend that I did like some musicals with, Hamish Knowles.
Yeah.
And he moved to the UK.
Yeah.
And the band had like a call from the producer, and it was like, oh, we really love your stuff, but we won't sign you unless you got like 50,000 followers on your Instagram page.
Could they be bots?
Isn't it absurd?
Well, it's crazy. And that in itself's crazy, because like, what does 50,000, what does that even mean? That means that they can then advertise with that? Or like, is that just because they think 50,000 people is going to mean 50,000 streams a week, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's a funny one. And it's like listening to, I didn't get to the end of it, but Elliot's conversation with you, they're just so, the way they were putting a lot of things, I was quite nervous coming in here because I'm like, oh, that person has such a defined sense of why they're doing music. And it's just like, they're the kind of people that, they're the kind of reasons that you have to be doing it now. And if there's any, and I'm doing air quotes here, success comes, so you can make money, that's just, it's kind of a bonus, which is crazy. And that's why I think a lot of people that aren't in music find it so hard to understand why people do it. It's like, well, you can't buy a house or you can't pay bills with it, so why the hell would you do it? And then, I don't know, maybe you sit there and think, oh, why do I do it then? But it was cool because you asked them why. I think you asked them, oh, maybe it wasn't. I can't remember what the questions were, but that was a really cool conversation. I really like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's interesting that like the different ways that people think and articulate why they do music. Like I've been lucky enough to have all these conversations with like different types of musicians, and some people really think about it, and some people like don't think about it at all, and others like Elliot Lamb was great at articulating why, and other people are just like, it's just a vibe.
It's just what I do.
Yeah. I don't have words to explain it, but...
Well, it's funny, like, I think that a lot of what Elliot was saying was... Sorry, I'm just going to turn. Oh, yeah. It's so comfortable here. Everyone listening, come and do this podcast. It's the best. I got a peppermint tea. I got this cute little dog under my armpit here.
Are your can levels okay and stuff?
It's great.
It's too hot?
It sounds awesome.
Cool.
It sounds nice, and SM7B, can't beat it. Well, you got the RE20. That's nice.
Yeah. So can you beat it?
I actually don't own an SM7B, and I have so many microphones, but I think it sounds good. I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks, Gormie.
Yeah, I think something that Elliot said was it resonated with me, with them playing the trombone, and it being like the band leader was like maybe pushing it on them because it's one that there's not that many trombone players. It's exactly the same reason why I play the bass.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know whether you knew this before you got me on, but I came to audio through playing music, and that was the sole reason why I started playing, because all my friends started playing, and I didn't come from like a really musical family. Like my parents liked music, but they weren't like, here, listen to the Beatles. And all my friends, I wasn't very good at sport. I wasn't like successful with like girls and stuff and dating. Like I was a dork, and all my friends were just like starting to play music. So I'm like, I'll just do that because I want to hang out. And there was like one other bass player. So I'm like, I'll just play bass. And even if I'm the second best bass player, I'll get a gig. So it was very tactical.
Yeah.
And that's why I started playing bass, because I'm like, well, yeah, I'll get a shot in the band.
So how old are we talking?
Yeah, like I think maybe at the end of primary school, I wanted to play.
Okay.
But then my mum got me this, like pulled out her old guitar from, out of the cupboard, dusty old nylon string. And I tried to play that. I wasn't very good at it. And then I think I like just put it in the back. It went on the back burner. I forgot about it. But then it was like year 7.
Okay.
When everyone started to play, and I was like, so my parents hired me the Samick, the school Samick.
Classic.
So then I started playing that. And then after a while, they were like, oh, well, he's taking a shine to it. So they got me a bass. But I think it was always bass just because I liked the sound of it as well.
Yeah, so it resonated once you like made the tactical choice to go like, oh, this is in demand.
Yeah. It not as many people wanted to play it. And also I thought it sounded cool. And it was easier. Because I'm pretty lazy with that kind of stuff. I like that the instant gratification of just being like, I can just pluck this note
Mm-hmm.
and it's doing all the, like, it's resonating and it sounds cool and it's long and deep and yeah, you could have this big amp that was like this big clean sounding low endy amp. It wasn't like squawky or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was easy to get a good sound out of it. I think the learning curve is not as steep with the bass. But then you being a jazz musician, probably you realize that the role of a bass player in a jazz band is probably the hardest one, maybe. You know, maybe not. I don't actually know anything about jazz. So
I would never describe myself as a jazz musician. So I find that hilarious.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just completely...
No, it's fine, but I did say that I did a jazz degree at Monash when you walked through the door.
It wasn't just something that I like...
No, sorry. Yeah, I did that, but that's not where my like passions lie. But yeah, I think bass is one of those instruments where like the barrier to entry is very low.
Yeah.
Quite similar to drums. Like if you've got like enough of like a sense of rhythm and coordination, you can quite quickly play like a basic rock beat. And with the bass, like, you can play like a bunch of songs that are in E and it like just sounds quite good straight away.
Yeah.
But then like to get to the next level from like basic to like, I'm playing more stuff. I feel like that like is a huge jump. Like,
even getting a sound, like getting a bass sound, and like thinking about your technique, and it's cool. Like there's a bass hanging on the wall right there. It's just like I'm just thinking about where you're going to put your hands, you know, all these kinds of things. Where it's funny being in the studio, I realize that's the thing that I really love is like using the magnifying glass, you know, like going into thinking about like, because I'm not a very dexterous player. Like I can't play fast and I can't really do technical things, but I love the technical things that I think I can do is like, instead of playing on this pickup or like playing with my hand here or like playing this note on this string up here or, you know, those kinds of things. I like thinking about that more rather than like what's the best bass line to play over this chord. It's more kind of like, how do I get it to sound more like XYZ?
Yeah, wow.
I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it absolutely does. It's so interesting because last night I was talking to Lucy about, you know, what was the Gush experience like recording with you in preparation, and you know, I was like, well, what did you like the most about working with Gormie? And she was like, he just gets great sound. And it's like, it's really nice to hear that you're like, you know what I'm really interested in is sound. And the first thing that Lucy says that she liked was sound. And like, you know, you're a sound engineer, so like it sort of makes sense. But at like another level, it's not just about like, you know, people focus in on so many different things, like, I don't know, vibe or technique or virtuosity or whatever, but it's like the sound chasing. Yeah,
totally. Sound and time. And it's like, I didn't have to really, I just stayed out of Lucy's way because she's such a great player and just rocked up with a jazz bass. And it was just like, I mean, I don't know, everything that she was doing was perfect. But I generally don't annoy the bass players that come in. It's funny because this podcast is about drummers. Like I was trying to figure out, well, it's not about drummers. That's just the name. But it's just like I usually hassle the drummers the most.
Yes.
Because it's funny. And there was this Steve Jordan reel that I saw yesterday that so perfectly summed up music for me. And I wanted to repost it, but I didn't because I thought it would be lame. But he's talking about the timpani and how the difference between, well, not the difference. I'm going to try and put this in the right way because it was so good. But it was like, he was basically talking about how music to him is all about where you stop the notes. And the thing about drums is a lot of drummers will just hit it and then the natural decay of the thing just happens. Whereas with bass, I think, and guitar and probably like a lot of other instruments, the dog's just trying to find a really comfy spot. It's all about where you're choking that note. And I'm thinking about like how to get a powerful recording or a impactful recording. I think it's where stopping things from playing. Yeah. So like, I think because you can only fit so much in, like, if you think about the volume of a room and like the decay of the room and the character of a room, like you've got all these people in the room. And with Gush, I had the 2 electric guitars off in a little room because they're so loud and so awesome. But I had the bass and the amp and the drums in the same room right next to each other.
Right.
And I think that I don't do that with every band, but when a band comes in and they can really play and they understand what I'm about to talk about, I will just let the amp be right next to the kit. Like, even if it's an SVT fridge, like, it doesn't matter, because if that bass player is stopping those notes in the right spots to let the snare or the kick come through, then it sounds so much better. But if the bass player doesn't understand that concept, you don't necessarily have enough time to explain it. But because I could kind of tell by listening to their demos and listening to the stuff that I think I don't even think they sent me anything. I just had a feeling. Because the band that was in before them that I got the gig through was Garage Sale. And it was the same drummer, Ellis. So because Ellis was such a wizard, I was like, well, they're not going to play in a band that isn't sick. So yeah, anyway, what I'm getting at is Lucy was so good at playing the note with good tone and then stopping it in the right space to make it powerful. And I think Steve, going right back around to what I was saying, I'm rambling here, but Steve Jordan's talking about the difference between timpani and like a concert band setting. You're deciding when you want to choke that note off. Well, you're not deciding, you're reading it. And if you don't choke it off at the right time, you're not playing the music right. And I think that in a garage band or like a rock band scenario, if you can bring that to that, then you're really cooking. You're making something really cool. And that makes my life really easy. So maybe Lucy's talking about me getting good sounds. Like, it actually starts from them, because I can actually be way more haphazard and like all over the place with my setup because they're so good, you know? But Lucy was really good at that. And I don't think that she would classify herself as a really flashy player either, but everything that she was doing was the reason why that band sounds so sick, I reckon. Just getting out of the way when it's the right time is the most powerful thing. And that's what I try and do in Angie's band with my bass playing. And I do think that I'm a really good bass player, but not for the conventional reasons why a kid would look at someone shredding, because I can't shred. But I do think I'm a valuable asset to a band, because I think a lot about, like, I think it's the note length. I think that's like my main obsession, is like, because there's an eternity. And Steve Jordan said there could be an ocean between 2 notes. Yeah. And it's just like, you could decide to play a note just a couple of microseconds longer, and it's going to change the groove of what's happening. And I just obsess about that. I just think it's so interesting. And what effects, like, because I have a lot of effects pedals, like compressors and fuzzes and weird shit. And it's just like all of those things change the time that you have when you're playing that A note. You know, the compressor being a little bit quicker gives you more time, or if it's a little bit slower, you know, less time, or the opposite to whatever, you know, whether it's that was the right thing or not. Sorry, audio nerds. But like time is everything, I think, when you're playing.
Was there a moment that you have that, you know, maybe like some kind of like enlightenment moment of that like length? Because I'm thinking about, I knew a little bit because I used to do a lot more like composition and arranging, and especially like I really loved like Jerry Hayes horn arranging, which is so much about, like, he's the guy like did all like Michael Jackson and Earth, Wind and Fire and stuff. And
that's so funny. I was thinking about that the other day.
Yeah.
Well, my kid, I have a 2.5-year-old, and his new favorite song is YMCA,
Oh, yeah.
the Village People.
Yeah.
And I showed it to him because I think I was listening to a podcast about it. But anyway, I've listened to that song about 100 times in the last month or so. And the string and horn arrange, like they're two different things, but the horns and the strings in that song are absolutely phenomenal. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. Like if you think about the YMCA, it's such a like funny, almost, I mean, I think it's a really important song in just socially, but because of what the Village People stood for. But the horn arrangement in that track is crazy. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's for me what like it opened up that like it's about where the note ends just as much as where it starts, and like talking to horn players about it. And then when I was at uni, I used to play with this bass player Billy Morell, who was like, I was studying at Monash and he was studying at the VCA, but you know, we came together and we used to practice for hours together.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, it's really about where the bass is coming off.
Yeah.
And we would just play like
It's
the same
so
one
true.
bar loop.
Yeah.
And just like
then
locking
move
in
it
on
around.
the offs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and it just blew my mind being like, and he'd be like, all right, I'm just going to like take it off just before you hit the snare. Now I'm going to take it off when you hit the snare. And like,
and then you show
playing with the
and then
differences
after
and-
you
oh.
hit it, and then you're like, oh, I sound like shit now.
Yeah.
And that's
it's like,
the
oh,
power.
you're making me sound
Yeah.
great. And when it's, yeah.
And I think that being a bass player, like they're not the masters of that, and it's just the thing about the bass is it's so obvious when it's right. Right? So like you get a lot of record producers that are like, it's all about the bass and the snare. And it's like, yeah, that's step one. But then like what you're talking about with horns, like trying to choke off one horn and then multiply that when it's a section and then multiply that when it's an orchestra. Like it blows my mind how you get dynamics and punchiness in an orchestral piece of music. When you're using the room and the decay of the room, not using it, when you're at the mercy of it. And that's orchestral music. That blows my mind. Like when an orchestra shows up in a different hall or wherever it is they play, and then they're like, okay, now we've got to get this 60 piece or however many piece orchestra sounding punchy, or when we want it to be punchy, you know. It's just like that. Those kinds of things I could just think about forever. And it's just like how they're like, are they adjusting stuff, or are they just, surely they're not just going in there and playing the music. Surely the conductor's thinking about, okay, I'm going to be a bit tighter on this one because this hall is really long or whatever. And like getting back to the bass and the drums, it's just like that's where it starts. But like when you see like some dude like Corey Wong, like he's just, or like, you know, Nile Rodgers, it's just like trying to do it on the guitar with chord, like 2-note chords or whatever, and there's reverb on the amp, you know, and then there's a horn section. Like that's actually the shit there, because it's fucking easy to just mute a bass note. But I think talking about it and like being aware of it, that's the gold. And I think that's basically what I do in the studio. Like I'm just trying to think about rhythm, because music for me and size on a record doesn't necessarily get back to, oh, what kind of amp is it? What are you miking it with to get the volume? It's like, that's important, but the bloom of a sound and cramming it onto a hard drive, it's all the same problem. The biggest tool you have to make it sound big or small, or like impactful, or like blurred, or what's a good word for it? Focused, is just when you choose to have sound and when you choose to have no sound or less sound. And I think, yeah, that's overlooked. And I think getting a really good drum sound is all to do with, obviously, no one gives a shit how good the drums sound on their own. It's like, how good do they sound with everything else? Well, let's think about everything else. You know?
Yeah. It's the like higher end conceptual stuff like that, I think, that goes, you know, it shows that that's the high level stuff. Like where I feel like with, especially like audio engineering, say, like there's like a spectrum of like, oh, we're trying to like think conceptually and like get a sound, and then it like dives off into like the technical thing about like, okay, we're like focusing on this exact frequency and this like placement of this microphone, and you know, all of like the technical data,
and you can get lost down there for your whole career,
right? And
I think a lot of people do. Not to say that I know the answers, but it's like,
but that scoot back up to the conceptual where you're like, oh, I want it to be focused, or I want it to be big, or I want it to be warm. Like you're sort of back to the conceptual words, and you have the technical expertise behind you to like pull it off. But it's like you're not chasing a you know, the technical analysis of microphone placement and discussing that with the drummer.
No,
the drummer's just saying, I want the snare to be bigger.
Yeah.
And you're like, well,
give us some room.
Okay, let's do that with the technique. But we're not having to say, okay, well, I'll measure it out like this. And
and that's the thing. Like, it's like phase and phase alignment. And there's probably a lot of engineers that listen to me talk, and they're just like, he doesn't, like, that's not right. And it's like, they're probably right, because I'm not that mathematical or scientific in the electrical sense of it. Like, I don't know how to build a mic or fix something, or like, you know, I don't really even know how a lot of gear works. I've rough ideas, but like, I think that most of it doesn't really matter. Like, I was just up at Roundhead Studios, which is the studio that's owned by Neil Finn, the Crowded House guys, because the drummer in the band's friends with the house engineer there, and he just kind of walked us through there. And a lot of the things that he was talking about, Stephen Schramm, he's a brilliant guy. Just same kind of thing that what I'm saying. Like, you know, the essence of what he's saying is like, use the gear that you have and just use it tons, but try not to think too much that if I get this next preamp, it's going to make my sound 100 times better. Like, and I think a lot of the engineers that I really admire are like the ones that record themselves. And like, I'm thinking about Kevin Parker, I'm thinking about Ruben from Unknown Mortal Orchestra, I'm thinking about you know, Annie Clark from St. Vincent. These kinds of engineers that kind of, well, I'm calling them engineers, but they're musicians that started off by recording themselves with just like meager equipment. And like Ruben still, I think it's Ruben, I hope I'm not saying the wrong name, but I'm pretty sure he still uses the same Shure PG kick drum mic, like the $100 one, and just one other mic. And it's just like, I think it's more important to just learn about, keep the same set of gear, and then learn about how all the factors outside of the gear are affecting it to make you sound really good. That's what people kind of respond to, I think. And that's when people say, oh, you got such a good sound on this thing. 9 times out of 10, I've just recorded that band exactly the same way that I record every other band. But it's what they're bringing in their conceptual and their ability to get in the clouds with me about this stuff. Because I talk a lot, as you probably, and I ramble a lot. But like, I love it when a band comes in and they want to just go on that little journey with me before we start recording.
Yes.
And then I think it sets everyone up for this thing of, okay, now I'm just going to sit here and try and get out of the way, and I'm only going to say something if I hear problems. That's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I try not to, and I think that's why Gush found me, because I think Ellis, the way that I record a garage sale, because there was a producer there, I was just engineering. I think they knew that, like, because they have so much, they think so much, like each member of that band thinks so much about how the whole thing's coming together. They didn't need a producer. They didn't need someone going, why don't you try this like that or this like that? And like, I'm just not that kind of producer. And I think a lot of people like that and a lot of people need that, but a lot of people don't, I think. And I'm really stoked that a band like Gush found me, because that was one of the coolest recording experiences I've ever had. It was so awesome. It was only like 2 days or something.
Yep.
and they were the best.
I really like the way that you say, like, you structure it to, like, have,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to have just the big chat about it.
I talk a lot at the top.
And then hands off.
And then I just kind of...
music.
And it's probably kind of annoying, but I like... You know, we were talking... Like, one of the amps died, and they use these M&R amps.
Yeah.
They're like... And they're not very expensive. They sound wild for what they're doing. They're perfect. And one of them died, and then... I have this really expensive, beautiful old Fender Bassman, which is like the best amp anyone could ever want. But it was the complete wrong amp for what they were doing. We were using it, and then we ended up getting another M&R in. But we were listening to the like really loud. We were in there listening to the distortion, how the way that they were playing. I've forgotten who's... You can edit this bit out.
Dom and Louis are the two guitarists.
It was Dom.
Yeah.
So Dom's guitar amp broke.
Yep.
And he did most of the session with my bass man. Well, actually, he probably did 2 songs, and then he did a song with a bass man. It was okay. But it was exactly what we were just talking about before. Mm-hmm. He was doing these chug things, and the bass man was just holding on to it just too long. It was the envelope of the sound was just not right. The M&R just had this headroom, and it just had this ability to hit the note really hard, and then when he'd choke it, it would go away. Like, it was just more muscular or something, and the bassman just couldn't do it. And it was like, we weren't talking about tone, we weren't talking about how beautiful it was or the EQ, we weren't talking about anything other than just like the amp. I can't get that Fender, even though it's worth $5,000, to do exactly what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is music. Like, and that was kind of like a light bulb thing for me. I'm like, this is what music is. It's like, he just wanted to have full control over what the amp was saying to him.
Yep.
And it was like, sick. Use the $150 M&R, because that's doing the thing.
Yeah.
But I think before you were talking about light bulb moments, for me, we used to record in my first ever band. We used to record in a shed with a 58 just hanging from the roof.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Just because I recorded straight into my MacBook, and I only had like 2 sides.
Cool.
And I only had one mic anyway.
Yep.
So, yeah, I used to think a lot about how, like, I only have one mic and we're all in the same room. And I'd just think about, oh, we'll move the amps further away, or we'll move the mic up and down, or those kind of things, trying to get a punchier sound with not thinking about the mic at all. Setting the mic up in a place where it wasn't distorting, and then everything else had to change around it, and then I just hit record.
Wow.
I didn't know any better, and they probably didn't sound very good. In fact, they probably sound terrible, those recordings. But that's what started me off thinking about there's way more important things than even before it hits the microphone. But yeah, I just kind of grew it out from there. Now I use a million mics, and I've got stuff plugged into everywhere, and it's just chaos, but it's still the same principles. That's
awesome, because that's such an interesting way of thinking when you've got one microphone for the band and you're coming at it from I'm working on the sounds that are made together rather than like the silos of each instrument is in their own room or in their own isolation box. And
because I've done that before,
then you mix it together after, but it's like you're coming from the it's actually I'm creating the live sound of this band in a room, and then we can do it with other like stuff to get like better sounds later. And it's like Stax, it's like Motown, it's like that's the same thing. And everyone will tell you, like, you know, I was listening to I don't know where this was recorded, but that Van Morrison song "Brown Eyed Girl" sounds incredible. You know, and like, I reckon that would have been recorded in one room. I reckon he might have even done his vocal live in the room. And it's like, it's not just the engineers that were thinking about it, or even the Beatles, like George Martin. It's not just him that was thinking about it. Every single person in the band has to think about it. And it's like, the best recordings are when, like the Gush one, when the band comes in and they've all thought about everything about their sound, their chain, their pedals. And then, you know, it's
they've probably been rehearsing all in one room, I'd say. So like for them to come in and me to just go, oh, okay, everything is isolated now. It's just not going to work. It's going to sound so weird. And I've tried that. I've gone down that rabbit hole of like when I first started recording, I just isolated everything and I did so many bad records and just trying to figure out why this doesn't sound like I want it to sound. And yeah, like that rabbit hole, you just go down that rabbit hole for ages. And now I'm just kind of like, it's completely different.
Well, on the last podcast, I had Natita Atkinson on, and she did her first in-ears gig.
Oh yeah,
at the MCG playing with Mark Seymour for like the AFL show in 2023.
Yeah,
and she was saying just how like different it was.
Yeah,
because all of a sudden the sound is like just in your ear, and you're like removed from all this other.
They got
stuff.
Crowd mics.
Yeah,
I just did exactly the same thing. The first tour, this last tour that we did with Angie, was the first in-ears one. And I had the same experience as you just mentioned.
Yeah. Well, yeah, tell us a bit more about that because I guess for listeners, at the time of recording this, you've just finished a massive tour with Angie McMahon.
So I guess tiny backstory. I'm going to try not to waffle too much because I do know you're probably going to have to edit a lot of this shit. But Angie, when I met Angie, I just finished playing in this big band, like for me, big. It wasn't big. It was just like a big moment for me. And I kind of decided I wasn't going to do music anymore because the band that I just finished with, it kind of ended in a bit of a sad story. Someone in the band passed away. It was quite sad.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thanks. It was really tough. But I was like, maybe I'll do something else. And then I met Angie. And she was just like, she was just working in a bar. And I was like, I knew her through friends and stuff. And then I was like, I was kind of over music. But then I was like, well, I'll just go and see her play. And I went to see her play like a solo show at Long Play, which is this tiny, I don't know if you remember Long Play. It's this tiny little crappy cinema in Northcote. I don't know if it's still there.
Oh, yeah, I don't know it.
Anyway, it was amazing. And then after the show, I was just like, I want to play in your band. Like, count me in. Like, it was everything that I loved. It was like Bruce Springsteen and like, you got a fast car. Who sings that song? Trace Chapman.
Yeah.
Just like, fucking just huge, soulful, massive, uplifting songs. And she can sing. Just huge voice. And I'm just like, I just want to see where this goes. Like, where the hell is this going to go? Anyway, so like flash forward to now, that was like, I don't know, 7 years ago. We just did this giant tour for her second record. And yeah, it was wild. I've never done a tour where we had stage techs, like best stage techs ever, setting up my stuff. Like, I would just get on the stage and they would have got there 3 hours early and everything was set up exactly the way that I would do it. And it was just like, I felt really like, I don't know, I felt like a bit of a schmuck, but it was so fun. And we played at the Sydney Opera House and we played, before that we did an American tour where we got to play at like the Bowery Ballroom and like we got to play it in LA at the Troubadour and all these like crazy like famous venues. And yeah, it's just really fun. I love playing in that band. She just added 2 more members to the band as well. So it's like gone from we started out as a 3-piece. Now it's like a 5-piece. So we have Stella Finan on keys and we have Jess Elwood playing lead guitars. So like there's so much more going on now.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, I'm just kind of still doing my thing. Like I don't know. What do you want to know about it? I guess it was fun. It was hell fun playing to all these. She's just got fans that come out and they sing every word to every song. It's just like not many people get the chance to play in a band that people do that. I feel like I rarely go to gigs where people do that, but she's got these fans that just connect like on this level.
What's your mindset like when you're playing in the band? Do you still nerd out about, sound and bass playing, or do you do that in like preparation, but then when actually the gig's on, you've got to like kind of a different mindset where you're just in it?
Yeah, less nerding out, more kind of like feeling it. Because Angie's songs are really dynamic. So like every song has like multiple really loud moments that don't last for very long, and then it comes right back down. And even time, like she just has her own time. Like, so for me in this band, the band that I played in before this, it was a country, like it was in that Bruce Springsteen thing as well, like that Heartland Americana. I hate to use that word, but it was like that Tom Petty, War on Drugs, Bruce Springsteen, the band kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it was all about the groove. I just had this really good relationship with the drummer, and we would just groove. And really easy to just sit in the pocket. Then when I met Angie, that all went out the window. Even though we're still kind of playing these massive cinematic songs, it's not about that. I try and focus on her vocals. I just follow her vocals and her guitar. So in my mix, the loudest thing I have is her vocal and her guitar.
Oh, interesting.
So I listen to the space between her strums. She has this really signature way of playing, which she would probably say is like really bad technique, because she's like a piano player foremost, and she plays guitar in this band. I think she writes mostly on guitar, but she kind of plays with her thumb and her finger. She kind of goes down with the finger and then back up with the top of her thumb.
Oh yeah,
the fingernail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like she plays with flat wounds and on this old harmony. And it's like kind of a dead sound, but it's like really raucous. Like it's got fuzz and distortion just because it's like the amount of bass that's pushing into her amp. She probably doesn't think about it as much as I'm thinking about it right now, but I try and and because her back's always to me, I stand right at the back in line with the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see her hand. I just have to like visualize her hand moving on this kind of like, it's kind of like whipping up and down. And that's my time. So whereas before I would just be like hi-hat and snare, that's all I need. Don't even really need the kick. I'm just like hi-hat, snare. I can kind of just get into that. Like skipping, like a skipping rope.
Mm-hmm.
With Angie, it's like I have to imagine when that downbeat's going to go and when the other one's going to come up, the upstroke, and her vocals are weaving in and out of that. So I'm trying to play in and out of that. So my bass playing now is way more lyrical, I feel like. There's only a couple of songs where I can just groove out, where there's just like a 4 on the floor. Like there's only like 2 songs, maybe 3 songs. The rest of it's just like I'm playing rhythm around her singing.
Yeah.
So the in-ears have actually been really good for me in that.
Okay. Because you got so much detail coming through?
Yeah, because I usually stand behind her amp. Like her amp's in front of me. It's a really funny setup, which I like because I get all the low end from her amp.
Yeah, okay.
But now I get this beautiful crisp, I get her amp sound and her vocal sound, and I play to her, and Lockie, the drummer, plays to her as well.
Okay.
And she was very instrumental in teaching me how to do that.
Right.
When we started playing with her, me and Lockie, she broke us down to, she's like, I don't really want you to play like she was she's very confident and sure about exactly what she wanted to do before we started. Mm-hmm. And me and Lockie are like 5 years older than her as well. We'd been playing a lot. And I don't know, I'm speaking from myself now. I just thought I knew everything. I knew how to do everything. I know how to play in a band. Come on. But I didn't know shit. And she just like kind of broke it all down. And she's like, this is kind of how I want you to play. Not in those explicit terms, but she'd just be like, no, it's not quite, we're not quite there yet. We'll keep trying it. And I'd just be like, what the fuck's going on? And then it all just kind of clicked. And I'm like, oh, this is, and I think that's why I really enjoy it so much, because it's a really strange band. It's a really strange stack of parts that go into her live show. And I don't know if I'm really explaining it right. It's coming off the top of my head. But it's almost as if you're playing in an ensemble without drums or without solid backbone.
Well, it's changing the, like, I guess, standard function of a band.
Yeah.
Which is like rhythm sections keeping time.
Yeah.
And the singer's coming on top of that.
Yeah. She doesn't think about it that way.
Yeah. It's a subversion of, no, it's more like a traditional accompaniment to a vocalist.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what we all try and do. And yeah, it definitely, and when the other two members joined, Stella and Jess, I'd never played with Stella before, but I'd played with Jess a lot. Jess is a drummer too. Really good drummer. And I think I tried to word them up about how it kind of works, but I'd start to, and then I'm like, nah, I'm just going to let this work itself out. They're great musicians. They'll work it out. And I think Stella was quite uncomfortable with, like, how do I fit in? Because Stella came really prepared with all the patches and, like, stuff. And I think it took like 4 or 5 shows before I feel like, and like Stella could tell me I'm wrong about this, but I feel like there was a point where they were like, oh, okay, this is, because that's what happened to me. And I think that's probably what happened to Jess as well. And like Angie'd probably laugh if she listened to this. She'd be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize like he thinks about that this much, or that I do that. But yeah, I think I do think about these things a lot. And maybe Lockie's just like, no, I just play the drums. I don't know. But maybe he's not.
I'd love to ask him.
You should get him on the show. You should get Stella on the show. You should get them all on the show.
I should. I knew Jess ages ago because she was at music school about the same time as me.
Yeah.
And playing with Beck Goring.
Yeah.
So yeah, I should reach out and.
Yeah, Jess is amazing, and like Jess isn't
she
as
was playing guitar.
Jess can play everything.
Wow.
Amazing singer. Just musical. And I would love to listen to Jess's conversation with you, because Jess doesn't open up that much, probably because there's so many fuckwits like me talking all the time. You know, like I try and get into her psyche about how she conceptualizes music and stuff. I'm sure she's got so much good stuff to say because she's a really incredible player. But yeah, the tour was amazing. Angie's in the UK now, and we're going to go and catch up with her again. We're going back to America.
Cool.
So yeah, playing from a player's perspective, I've been on a podcast before that just focused on the audio stuff. And I thought, oh, maybe I should just go in and talk more about the playing, like, but I guess it's just turned into another one of my meandering ADHD like rambles. But playing with Angie has been probably one of the more like important things for me. Meeting Angie, learning how she does music, being in the studio with Angie as well. But being in the studio with Angie and being on the stage with Angie are two completely different things. Like the way we make records is really different. We just sit in the studio and just throw shit at the wall. We get like the basics down with the band, and then me and her will just go in for like however many days it takes, just layering pianos, layering synths, layering guitars, just doing all that stuff. And then we sit in the studio and we just like pare it all back and like fuck shit up and mix it and cut it and, you know, do whatever it takes. But on the stage, in her stage, because she runs the band, I'm by no means like, she doesn't have an MD. She is the MD. It's way different. Whereas in the studio, it's kind of like 50-50. We just of like, it's just two people working towards a common goal to get this thing done, because we're both on the same page, usually with sound. And, but on the stage, it's just like, she's like not like James Brown in that she's not mean and she won't fire you, but like she's like, we all just wait to see what she's gonna say or like what she wants to do, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, she's like a proper old school band leader, and she's got eyes on everything, ears on everything.
Yes,
and even when you think like you make a mistake or you try something, she won't really say it straight away, but then like in the right moment she'll be like, you know, you played the 4 on that thing, can you just play the 1? And it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
You heard that? Oh, everything. It's almost like I think she can see she can see it all in front of her, like a million things at once. And we're all singing. So there's 5 singers in this band.
Oh, wow.
And we're all singing a lot. You know, Jess and Lockie do most of it. Actually, Jess, Lockie, and Stella do a heck of a lot. I do probably like 50% less, but in every song, there's most of the time there's a 5-part stack.
Wow.
And she's just writing all this stuff. And like, because in the studio, it's so complicated. There'll be like 7 parts or something. She's trying to figure out how to get 5 to sound like 7. And she'll just try shit. Like, she's so musical. And she'll just be like, all right, Gormie, you're going to sing the low octave of me. Even though there isn't a low octave on the recording, the way that it's going to come out live, it's going to make the sound that I want. And I'll just be like, oh, why don't I? She's like, just try it. And then you try it and it doesn't sound that great the first time. But then after like 5 times, you're like, no, that's exactly what it was supposed to be. Like, she's she's got it all in her.
Yeah, she knows what's going on and how to achieve it. That's great.
And I don't have any musical theory knowledge at all.
Okay.
Even though I did a music degree, I didn't pay any attention.
Well, congrats on your work on the second album, like from the recording side of things.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's really great.
I did 2 songs, recorded. I produced 2 songs, and I mixed 4 others. So Brad Cook in America did the most of the production with Angie. I think Angie's credited as co-producer on the whole thing, which is how it should be. But
it sounds like she brings so much to it. But there's quite a few people that have sent me some of the stuff you did on Angie's second album, and I was like, oh yeah.
Thanks.
It was one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to you, like as well as the gush stuff. But
Sorry, I feel like I've just kind of rambled about everything, and I've chewed up all of our time. But
it's actually been really nice because, like the joy of this podcast is that it's just a chat.
Yeah,
and it's as if I'd asked you to catch up in a cafe, and we just got the chance to talk about whatever came up. And I hope that's okay for you because I've really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. I hope I hope there wasn't anything you actually wanted me to talk about that I didn't.
I just wanted to get to know you.
Yeah, I feel like
thank you.
I feel like you've gotten to know me.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, this is me.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Do you have time for us to play the podcast games?
Oh, I've got heaps of time.
Yeah.
You don't have to wrap it up if you don't want to, but like, I don't have anything to do, and this dog is so cute and sleeping here. So let's do the games.
All right. Well, I call them games. They're not really games, but it's a bit of fun. So I get each guest to ask a question of the next guest.
Oh, okay.
But because no one knows who the guests are, sometimes the question's like a real hit, and sometimes they're like a real miss.
So someone's asked me a question.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I've got a question for you from Natita Atkinson of 50% of Don't Thank Me, Spank Me, which is her excellent band with Esther Henderson.
That's the best.
And she's also just like a ripper multi-instrumentalist.
I can't wait to meet her.
Oh, hang on a second. All right, sorry. I'm going to have to re-intro this because that's not the guest who asks you a question.
Oh.
I forgot. I had another guest after Natita, and the last podcast guest is actually with clarinetist Ruby Ludlam.
Okay.
No, Ruby Ludlam, and she goes by like the artist name
clarinet.
Clary Loops. I don't know if you've ever heard of
that. Sounds good.
Clary Loops.
Can envisage what it is.
Yeah, describe what you think it's like. Yeah.
Well, I hope
like it's pretty self-explanatory, but like
I hope it's just someone who's got a clarinet and a bunch of pedals and just goes ham and makes cool soundscapes.
Yeah, that's basically spot on.
And I want to hear that. I'm glad I'm going to listen to that.
Well worth a listen.
Because I think clarinet is probably, and like bass clarinet, they're like, it's the most incredible sound. Yeah.
All right, so this is the question for you
Okay.
from Ruby Lolum, Clary Loops.
Dear guest, if you could be in and tour with any band from history,
Oh my God.
and you just happen to be the best at the instrument that you want to play in your dreams,
Okay.
what band would it be? What instrument would you be playing? Who would you be?
Wow. You know, that is a really, really hard question. Because now I'm thinking about instruments that I wish I could play, and bands that I would want to tour in. And I think I would want to play sax in Bruce Springsteen's band.
Oh.
Clarence. It's Clarence, right? Yeah, Clarence, who plays in Bruce Springsteen's band. When I hear, like, in Jungle Land and, like, in Thunder Road, like, the sax parts, that it's not much music makes me, like, cry, like, just uncontrollably, just it. And I think when the sax comes in at the end of Jungle Land, I don't know if you're familiar, but if you're not, you should just chuck it on. It breaks me down.
Wow.
And the way that he comes out on stage, like, he's this big, he's sadly not with us anymore. He's this big guy, and he's just be wearing like this 3-piece suit, and he just comes out. The saxophone looks like a toy. It's a tenor, and he just comes out, and he just, man, it's soaring. And I wish, I think I wouldn't get sick of doing that if I could just do that.
Wow.
Yeah, play sax with Bruce Springsteen.
What is it that gets you about it?
Sounds like it sounds like it just sounds like an extension of the voice. I think it sounds like an otherworldly ability. Like, I mean, singing is amazing. It's an amazing feeling when you're singing, especially when you're singing with a group. But I feel like playing the sax, it's better than the trumpet, it's better than any other. It's just so, and the way that he plays, it's not like, it's not boppy. It's not like fast and it's like he'll just pick a note, like a harmony of whatever's happening, and he'll just be like, and just like holding this like perfectly crisp note, just going over this rock band, and it's just like, it just cuts, and it's just like soaring. And I think I've just got goosebumps even thinking about it. I just wish I could do that. And it's the only thing that would be more like tough. It's like tougher than Bruce Springsteen's voice, I think. Because Bruce Springsteen will have just sung his absolute guts out about this blue collar, like, dust bowl kind of, like, you're in this world, you're in this universe of like, is the kid going to make it? Is he going to get out? And, like that kind of feeling, or like, is this love going to endure? Like, are we going to ride off into the sunset? And it's just like, he's just sung it. He's got nothing left. And then Clarence just comes out, and it's just like, I've got another level of emotion for you. Like, here it is. Like,
wow.
And he just like plants his feet, like just this big dude. And it's just like, it's just so good. That's what I would want to do.
Oh, I love seeing the look in your eyes as you describe it. Like, yeah, you could see the passion.
Yeah. I want to ask that question to the next person, but now I've got to, do I have to try and think of one?
Yeah.
On the spot?
Yeah. You can have some time.
I'm going to have a sip of tea. Does it have to be musically related?
No.
Oh, now I'm thinking. So it's just a question, isn't it? Or what's the parameter again?
What would you like to ask the next guest?
Well, I guess this one, it's a bit cliche, but I'm a bit of a cliche guy. But after having a kid, all these things. Can I add this to my question? Like, can the foreshadowing be in the question? Okay, so dear guest, here's my question. It's going to meander, but like one day we'll meet and you'll realize how much of a meandering person I am. But after having my kid, my child Otis, I always catch myself thinking about little shreds of advice I wish I could have had from myself. So all the little things that I'm showing him now, the ways to just be like a soft, gentle person. Not to say that my parents didn't do it for me, but I wish that I had myself to give me the advice as I was growing up, like a little guardian angel. My question is, what advice, if you could be your own guardian angel as a small child or as an 18-year-old or as like a 24-year-old, which I found was the hardest time in my life. I was going through hard things. What would be the advice you would give yourself in times when you needed it? And I hope that question makes sense. Maybe I should try. Maybe you could you summarize what my question is after knowing me and listening to me bullshit for 90 minutes?
Yeah, I think that it's quite similar to the final question that I ask every guest.
Oh, no.
Which is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Oh. So
But yours is a bit more broad. Slightly. But if I was to condense it down most simply, are you asking, would you want yourself to give that advice, or what advice would you give yourself at one of those like pivotal ages?
That's like a better question, isn't it? Would you want yourself to be your own guardian angel, like a version of you from the future? Okay, I'm going to rephrase the question, but I still want you to play all the bullshit.
Sure. Like, I'll just play this whole thing.
Just play this whole thing. Okay. So I want to know whether you would want, if you had the option to have a future version of yourself come back in time and give you advice about your life, would you want that? Or would you just be happy to go through your life the way you've gone through it to this point? I think that's a good question.
That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, it really makes you think.
Would you? Now I don't know if I would want it or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I'm happy about who I am right now, but sometimes you think about the things that you've gone through and you're like, oh, would it have been?
Yeah, I think I probably would.
You would want it?
I think so.
That's cool.
I think, yeah. Like, I feel like my inner voice is very, like, harsh and critical.
Yes, me
but
too.
If it was me right now, to go back
and
to
just be like, dude,
guardian angel, smaller me. Yeah, I think
you would listen to it. You would because you're like, well, yeah,
that person gets me.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, that's my question to you, guest.
Thanks, Gormie, for the question.
And now, your question to me.
I had something that I wanted to ask you, but you've thrown me by throwing the question back on me, so then I had to think.
Oh, no. Did you actually have a question for me that I could try and straightly answer? Or was this like part of the, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, as in, would you like me to still summarize that question more?
You can.
No, I think you did a great job.
Well, I just hope that the person... You'll be there.
I will be there.
So you can try and give more context
Yeah, and sometimes it's actually nice not to give any context because people have asked questions that have been like misunderstood or
Yeah.
completely misinterpreted.
But the answer is amazing.
Yeah, because the whole point is just getting to know people, right?
Yeah, and I just want to make like the reason why I want you to keep all of the bullshit in is because I just feel like maybe people out there that are neurodiverse, I think it's nice
Yeah.
to know like sometimes all you do is hear about these people and what they do and their output or whatever. And you just think, oh, this person must be X. This person must be Y. But sometimes it's cool when someone comes in and they're just like a complete shambles. And you're like, oh, cool. Maybe I can do something then. I don't know.
I do think there's something really nice.
It's like no Photoshop, no airbrush.
Right?
Just, this is me.
And conceptually for me, it's like I can take a photo
Yeah.
for the podcast
Yeah, sure.
of everybody sitting on that couch here at my house. And it doesn't matter that they've just been on a world tour
Yeah, totally.
or they play clarinet loops.
Yeah.
For listeners on Spotify.
Yeah,
or
it's all valid.
They're starting out at music school or
Exactly.
they're, a 60-year-old professor. Like
Exactly.
at the end of the day, it's all a person.
Yes.
It's not like this mythical musician legend of
No.
like unattainable enlightenment.
It's just breaking it down. I think that's another. That's why these podcasts are so good, and this one in particular, I really enjoy, because you're just breaking it down. Like as cliche as that sounds, you're just showing people that sometimes the music world's hard to break into or hard to actually talk about stuff. But this is kind of doing that. I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Oh, thanks, Gormie.
I'm really stoked to be here.
I'm so glad that you're here because I think all the things that you do are really cool.
Oh, thank you.
I should wrap up with
Yeah.
5 short answer questions.
Sick.
So
I'm going to try and actually do it this time, promise.
I used to call these rapid fire questions, but people really pushed back on that.
No. Okay. Oh, so like you've got like a second. You just say what's in your brain.
Yeah, but like if you can do it, props to you.
I'll try.
But
Sometimes I can do that,
let's just do it.
believe it or not.
What is your favorite venue to play in Melbourne?
The Old Bar.
What is your dream venue to play at? Not Melbourne specific.
Red Rocks.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I'd love to go there.
nice.
Yeah.
Maybe on the next American leg.
I don't know. Hopefully, please. I would love to go there. Love outdoor venues. And that place just looks so cool.
Have you done the Maya Bowl here in Melbourne?
Nah. That'd be cool too. Been to plenty of shows there. Love it.
Yeah.
But Red Rocks looks so cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's like, I'm not saying that they're on the
Yeah.
same level.
Yeah. Well, no,
I guess it's our outdoor
our
venue
green
in little old Melbourne.
green slopes.
What is your coffee venue? Coffee order.
Latte. Just straight up latte. Used to do strong lattes, but then I realized I just don't need that much coffee, so I just have a latte.
What is your coffee venue is a new question,
Yeah.
but I'm going to ask it now because it seemed like you were thinking about something.
Well, I have a lot of different coffees. I actually really like instant coffee as well. I drink instant coffee at home. But one of my favorite places is Everyday Coffee in Collingwood because it's right near my studio.
Nice. Shout out to
But
them.
I'm pretty chill.
Cool.
I drink anything. Yeah.
Favorite place to get food after a gig in Melbourne?
Like the first thing that came to my head just then was McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
But like I actually let's just say I'm at the Old Bar, right? Doing my favorite gig.
Yep.
So my favorite venue is the Old Bar. I'm going to go to Lamb on Brunswick Street. It's not Lamb's. It's called Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
And you just go in there and you get like a slice of Hawaiian pizza. And it's probably been sitting there for a while. Sometimes when you get the fresh ones, damn good. And it's like $2.50. I'd do that. It's got like dried oregano on it. That's where I'm going. Because
Nice.
you're playing at the Old Bar. You're walking home at 1 a.m. You're pretty tanked. And you go to Lamb. And yeah, it's always open.
Would Lamb sell potato cakes and hot chips?
Absolutely.
I think that's
Jim
what
Sims.
Natita
You've been
Atkinson
there.
a couple eps back. That was her place, her go-to as well.
Yeah, it's just good and it's cheap. You step in the door. You don't have to walk into the place. The counter's right at the door. You just kind of step in. You're like, grab your thing in your paper bag, and you rock on home.
Nice.
That's where I'm going.
All right. Well, I'm going to add an extra special question.
Yes.
What is one piece of gear
Oh, that I can't live without.
Yeah.
I'm not a big gear guy, but you know what it would be? Because recording is really important to me. Playing bass live is. I really love my bass because it's sentimental, because it was like my bass that I have had forever.
Is it the same one your parents bought you?
No. It's just this P bass that I bought when I played in that band, Big Smoke.
Okay.
And I just played all these really nice shows with it, and it's just like my bass. But I'd give that up. I would keep my crappy Kenora kick drum. I have this Kenora kick drum that I bought off a friend who hated it. He's a drummer and he just hated it. And I was like, yeah, I'll buy that drum kit. I bought the whole drum kit. But the kick drum, it's like my favorite thing. And it just, I don't know why, it just sounds really good. And I think it's as synonymous with like my drum sound as like any other piece of gear that I have. I don't care what mic it is. I don't care what room it's in. I've put different heads on it. And like, I've had a whole bunch of different drummers come in with way better drums. I reckon it's probably $100 drum, and it'll just sit there. And like, if I have the option, I'll just put it up because I know that it's going to do the thing that I like.
Wow.
But I'll always let the other drummer play their drums first. And then it usually makes its way onto a record. And if it comes out early, it usually stays up because it's just banging. I love that drum. I would keep that drum and sell everything else. Because I reckon I can get... it's the only thing that I've got that I reckon nothing else sounds quite like. Anyway, that's what I would keep.
I'm so glad I asked.
Yeah. I love drums.
Final question.
Okay, one more. You can ask as many as you want.
All right. Well, maybe we'll continue, but I'll ask the final of the
You're the
rapid
boss.
fire ones.
Okay.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Well, I know what it would be because I try and tell myself this every day. But it would just be to not worry too much about when you say something. Don't worry too much about how other people are decoding that. You know? Because if you say something if you're not trying to be nasty and you're being thoughtful. I mean, I'm not talking about if you just say stuff offhand and not think about it. But if you've thought about something and you're not trying to be nasty and you're being thoughtful, don't worry too much about what people are how they're gonna interpret that. Because I think, just like in music, people can sense authenticity. People can sense what you mean. Like, people can sense what your intention is. And if you have a good intention and you say something or you do something, don't worry too much about it after that, I think. I spent a lot of my life worrying about whether people think I'm not a nice person or like... And it's just my anxieties. Like, I know no one thinks I'm an asshole, but it's just like, that's what I would do. Because I'd spent so much time just being anxious about like what people were thinking about, did I make myself clear? Maybe I need to keep talking and justify what I'm, Angie's taught me a lot about that too. Just be, she would say something to me like, just say it in 3 words or less, and like just slowing down and being like, just be authentic and say it and then just let it hang out there. Maybe that's what I would say.
Yeah. It's great. Great advice. Really hard. I feel the same thing.
It's hard.
Like, yeah, I'm thinking about it lots and I want it to be received well and all of that stuff. And like, just to let it sit there is like...
Yeah, all the people that you're so... you listen to so much. Like, I think about teachers or like, someone like Angie in my life, like a band leader. They're also like seemingly sage-like and confident, and they just say like 3 things, and you're just like, oh yeah, man, that's cool. It's like, why can't I be like that?
Yeah,
you can be like that, because I don't reckon those people like are thinking about every little refractory version of like every situation that this could mean that, or you could go away and think that like it just doesn't happen that way.
All right. Well, here I'm gonna ask you this then, because this is what I often think about. Like, would I trade the like anxious overthinker, but like deep dive,
Yeah.
fine tooth comb magnifier brain?
So you have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah. For the sage chill.
The Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Nah. Would I?
Yeah.
Nah. See, that's the thing. Like, I don't reckon I would. Yeah. It's so, again, cliche. I don't think I would change anything about myself. Not because I love myself and I'm just so happy with myself. And it's just because I'm really happy with the people that are around me. I love my people. I love all the people. I'm so lucky. I have this beautiful family. I have a beautiful wife. We're not married yet, but I call her my wife. I have this beautiful kid. All my friends are so lovely to me. I've found myself playing in bands that I never thought I would be connected to. People are trusting me with their music that I never thought they would, like in the studio. And I think if I was a different person, I would have to throw those things away too, because I would have to have all these different experiences. And I just think that there must be something funny or intriguing, or there must be something nice about me that's attracted all those people. That's as close as I can get to self-love, I think, as I can. Because I do have a hard time with just being like, you are good enough, dude. Mm-hmm. Chill out. Like, you're all right. I have such a hard time to do that. But I don't know if I would trade it, because, yeah, it's been a pretty cool ride so far.
Yeah.
Would you?
No.
Nah. Why? I'm flipping the podcast around.
It's fine. I think similarly, like, yeah, those are all like difficulties.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's got me to where I am.
And you like where you are?
I think so.
That's great.
Like, I've had a bit of a weird time because I got long COVID.
Shit.
At the end of 2021.
Shit.
And it's just like completely wrecked my brain and my body. So, like, I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't, like, walk past the letterbox. And now, like, 3 years later...
How did it wreck your brain? How can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I probably won't put this in the podcast, but basically, like, I lost all of my executive functioning skills. So, any kind of, like, problem solving, comprehension, short-term memory...
You lost it?
Yep. So, like, the best example I can give is something like I had to stop watching movies or TV shows that I'd never seen before because I couldn't follow what was happening. Like, the main character would be on the screen and they would say something and I'd go like, Lisa, like, what's happening? Who are these people?
Oh my
I can't follow anything that's happening. And, like, I'm talking about, like, watching, like, weird, like, avant-garde films, just like a straight ahead. Yeah. And I can't, like... It was literally like that part of my brain was gone. Or like at Christmas time, a bunch of Lucy's cousins were playing Celebrity Heads.
And you're like, who's that?
I could ask the question, like, am I fiction or non-fiction? Or am I fantasy or real or whatever? But then that part of your brain that, like, sequentially analyzes them to, like, get to an answer.
Useless.
It literally just blank.
Oh my. How did it come back? Did you have to work for it to come back?
So...
Or did it just slowly kind of even out?
Yeah, like, it started to come back and then I got COVID again.
Shit.
And then it just really plateaued for about 18 months.
Oh my.
And so I had to completely stop working and studying and I didn't really play very much at all. Because it just...
Dude.
Like, I had all this, like, terrible fatigue, but then, like, that part of the thinking part of my brain wasn't working. And then the last maybe 6 months... I stopped going into the hospital because I was going in for, like, appointments, tests, drug trials, like 2-3 times a week I had some kind of medical thing on.
Wow.
And so that just consumed my life for like 2 years.
Yeah, of course.
And so at the start of this year, the professors I was seeing just were like, okay, like we've done everything we can. We can't find any like degenerative problems in your body. Like, we can see like inflammation and we can see like processes aren't working, but we can't see like a tumor
Yeah.
or like a muscle or autoimmune disease that's like destroying you. So just take this year and like just turn your brain onto other stuff, and hopefully with more rest, you could get better with time.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's been like, so when you say like, are you happy with where you are? It's kind of like, well, like sort of, because I'm lucky. Like you say, like I've got a really great partner in Lucy, so like the family there is like good, and I've got supportive friends and community and stuff. But yeah, life is not exactly where I wanted it. But at the same time, like that's why I started the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, I've been at home for like 2.5 years, mostly by myself. This is a nice way to like get people to come and see me, and I can chat.
This must be amazing.
Yeah. It's so good for me.
Congratulations, though, because that's not many people could do this.
Oh,
I think you
thanks.
create a really inviting, not too. It's intellectual. Like you're a great host because you're just kind of sitting there and you're ready to go as deep as. Like I kind of could feel that you're just like happy to go like as deep down the rabbit hole as you want. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a really cool, feels very comfortable, very inviting.
Thanks. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the stuff I think about, but try not to say. So I'm glad that it comes across.
It comes across.
It's nice to know that the experience is, easy and comfortable. And
Yeah. I'm going to be telling everyone about it.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell them to hit me up and I'll have them all on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess. Do you know when you can go back and start doing other things? Or do you
Not
just
really.
you just kind of cruise?
Yeah. So now I've gone from being able to walk for like 10 minutes in December to I can do about 30 minutes now with a break.
And then after 30 minutes you're just gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
But now my day-to-day is not as bad. So I can do it again the next day, which previously I'd be in bed for a day.
Shit.
Whereas now I can do like, I can take Scout out and I can go around the block, or I can walk down to the park, like sit on the bench and then come back. And then I can do that most days. So I still sleep in the afternoon for like, a couple hours or something.
And then you still go to bed at night.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, like 6 months ago, it would be like, I could do like this activity like now, or we could have lunch or something. But then that's it. That's the only thing I can do for the whole day. And then maybe that's the whole thing I can do for like 2 or 3 days. Whereas now I can do this, and then I can do another one tomorrow, and I can do another one after that, and I can maybe do like a dinner, like that's a bit more social or out of the house.
Wow.
But like, then it becomes tricky because like there's more stimulus, so that's more tiring. And
Oh man.
yeah, anyway, sorry.
I'm
Now I'm rambling about things.
It's really good to hear about it. It's terrifying though.
A little bit, but
It's
I'm just
one
so
of those-
lucky that I can do stuff.
Yeah,
And
but
I
you've
think-
created stuff.
But
You've
I
made
think you
stuff.
have to, like,
Yeah.
otherwise I just go crazy.
Nah, man. I mean, I'm so pissed off at myself that in COVID, I didn't really even get sick. I was so depressed. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And like, feel free to edit this out because it's probably like not that useful. But I just became a full-on alcoholic. I just drunk all the time.
Right.
And I got to the point where like my partner was like, "What the fuck? Like, I'm gonna leave. Like, I don't want this." And I'm trying not to be too mad at myself, but like, yeah, I could have done so many things. I could have taught myself another language. I could have fucking done anything other than I literally just drunk all day, every day, forever. And like, I don't think there's too many excuses for that. And if I was in your position, being the way that my depression comes around, I hope that I could do something as constructive and beautiful as you have. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. I feel like...
Because it's still something. And like you're meeting... like,
But it's taken me a long time to get here. Like, we're literally talking 3 years, really.
yeah.
Yeah, like... I think I had really bad depression when I was 16, 17. And so I think now... Like, the first few doctors and stuff I saw, they were like, "Oh, you're just depressed. Like, you don't have an illness. You have depression." And I was like, "No, like my brain's not working. Like I've had depression where I can't do anything because I'm so numb to the world and I just feel like despair that never leaves. But this is like, I've still had my motivation the whole time. I just haven't had like capacity to do stuff. But during lockdown, I didn't learn any new skills or anything like that. Like, I feel like when you're like, oh, I just drunk, like so many people, hardly anyone really did productive stuff.
No, you're right.
It's just like that tiny percentage of people that did, and they like, you know.
I started a new business and I made $1 million.
There was like, 100 of them. Like, right. It feels like, oh, well, we just sat around and we should have done all this stuff. But like,
we didn't know. That's the thing. Like, everyone thought it was going to end next month.
Right. It's that state of unknown.
I'm just going to hang here and I'll just drink for a month, and then next month I'll be back on the road, or next month I'll be back in the studio, and then you're just not. So you're like, oh, I'll just drink for another month, and then you flash forward 2 years and you're like, oh, I'm fucking alcoholic now.
Yeah. How'd you go getting off?
Oh, I mean, it's been a long road. I mean, I've always been a little bit of an addictive person and self-medicating person. So like when I would go through my depressions, like when my friend died, I'd just be like, oh, I'll just find something to, I'll just, instead of going to the doctors or something, I'll just be like, I'll just drink and do drugs and stuff.
Yeah. Which
is not healthy. But yeah, just, I stopped taking drugs like around about the time when me and Paige were like thinking about starting family. I was like, not that she said anything, but I was just like, I just want to be there. Cause I knew that like I used to do gigs and stuff where I'd be high or whatever, and you'd be like, you're kind of playing, but you're not there. And the same thing kind of happened on this Angie tour. I'd be having like 3 or 4 beers before I go out on stage, and just, not tons, not sloppy. And I'm like playing good, but I did probably like half the tour like that. And then halfway through, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm out there, but I'm not out there.
Yes.
So it was that same kind of thing. So then the other half of the tour, I just stopped. I'm just like, I'm not going to have anything to drink before. For a couple of shows, I did it. And then like at the end, I was just having a beer or 2 on stage.
Yeah. So what did it feel like doing?
Way better.
Yeah.
Because you play better and you can hear people and you look up and you look over the stage and you have moments and stuff. Whereas when you're drunk, you just kind of like, I'm like just loosey-goosey. And it's like, whatever, that's something. But it's just like, that's not what I wanted. So I guess I just didn't want that for my like life. But then there've been moments where then I slip back into like drinking every day again. Not like getting drunk every day, but just like having 3 or 4 drinks.
Yeah.
Which is probably still tons. But now I'm in a moment where I'm just trying not to drink just cause. If someone comes around for dinner, you have a beer with them. Or if someone says you want to go out for a beer, you go out and have a beer. But it's not just like, cool, 5 o'clock, I'm going to go have a couple of stubbies.
Yeah.
It was hard though.
I bet.
Because it's awesome. Drinking's great. I mean, it's not. I don't want to come across as someone who's like, go get drunk. It's like, it's fun. Like it's part of this weird Australian culture where it's just like, you have a beer, you work hard, you have a beer, whatever. But it's like, I don't know. It became a problem for me. And yeah, I'm just trying to, again, with the cliches, I just feel like I'm not present. Like right now, I'm drinking a green tea. This is like the most pure version of me. It's not when I've had 3 beers.
Yeah.
It's just not. And like, I just have to be real about that. And it's the same when I'm playing. I tell this to everyone who comes in the studio. I've had bands come in and they sneak out the back and, they're smoking a joint or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I'm not going to say anything. Like, I'm not a narc. I've done as much drugs as the next guy. And they come in and they're playing and, woo. And it's like, I know, he's high.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I don't talk to him. I just talk to whoever's paying for it. Because I have mad respect for whoever's coming in to pay for the session. Because it's a lot of money. And I just go, your guitarist's smoking up halfway through the session. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, he doesn't play that good when he's high. Like, he's having fun.
Yeah.
But he was playing better yesterday when he wasn't. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, you can do whatever you want. It's your money. But it's the same as playing live. Like, why is there this thing that we can go and have 3 beers and hit the stage and be like, fucking, I just need 3 to take the edge off. It's like, no. if you've got a problem being nervous or whatever, like figure it out some other way. Don't just get drunk because it's disrespectful to the band leader or whoever's paying you. So anyway, that's where I was in my head about it, and Angie didn't care. She's like, she doesn't drink, she's sober, but she's like, yeah, whatever you think is going to be healthiest for you. She's super supportive, and she's like, yeah, I don't want you to drink. I'd love it if no one drunk, because she's like, I don't think drinking's good. She doesn't enforce it, but like, yeah, Lockie's really good at it. Stella's really good at it. I think me and Jess sometimes, you know, we're probably the two drinkers in the band, but it's just like, yeah, for me, I'm just kind of like, go out there and just experience it, even if it's nerve-wracking or it's like, that's why you're here. And above all, I just play better when I'm sober. I think everybody does.
Yeah, I think everybody probably does. Maybe someone who's like never played sober or something, like, because there's a few
I
of
know
them,
those people.
yeah, going around.
Yeah. You listen better, you react quicker. Like, just drink 5 beers and go out and try and play footy, or go and fucking try and do something where you need motor skills. Like, you suck. And then you don't have as much concentration, and you get fed up, and you're just like, why are we doing that? We've got 1,500 people here watching us. Why am I doing that? Anyway, I could go on all day.
No. It's fine. Yeah, I always thought, like, you know, like Steve Gadd was like, you know, doing all of the drugs during all the sessions, and I was like, maybe he was just great because he didn't have any of my inner voice, like, second guessing everything. Maybe because he did so many drugs that wasn't going on.
Didn't have any neural pathways left,
right?
But he could still hit. Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Know. That's just my opinion.
No, I'm not saying it like that. But
no, I have to clarify just in case this did make it onto the podcast. But it's just like,
that's right. We're almost 2 hours into like a 45-minute.
Oh my god, what time is it?
It's 1:46.
Oh, it's okay. I've just got to go to an eye point. I'm getting my eyes checked today.
Nice.
That's on my list. I spoke to like a financial person who's going to help me try and get my shit in line.
Cool.
I came to talk to you, which is great.
Thanks.
I didn't know what it was going to be, but this has been like a really awesome conversation for me.
Excellent.
I hope it hasn't been too like hectic for you.
No.
I never see. That's my thing again. That's my thing telling me like,
yeah.
Just go on to the podcast. That's what his thing is, and just say what you're going to say and just let it hang out there.
Yeah.
But in my mind right now,
you're like, no, make sure that Luke's okay. But like,
no, in my mind, my brain is telling me that everything that I said to you is there's no clarity, like nothing made sense.
Right.
And I'll listen back to it because I like to listen back to it just to check, but it'll probably sound okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, like, you know, even when you went off onto a tangent, you would bring it back yourself.
I would try.
You know, it's not like listening to like Drake. I mean, not Drake. Who's the...
I don't know. I want to know though, because...
The guy...
who does what?
Yeezy. Kanye.
Oh, Kanye.
If you listen, have you ever listened to a Kanye interview?
He's crazy because he's so... Sorry, he's not crazy. I shouldn't say that. It's wild.
His brain works on a different level, and
he's really like he's really intense, and he'd be like, "I am the greatest."
Yeah,
and you would just be like, "Okay." Yeah. He's like, "And I am going to be the king of the world."
Yeah. I saw this really great interview of him and John Mayer from like 20 years ago, where they were the opposite, and John Mayer's sitting there being like, "I'm the greatest musician in the world."
What's he doing?
Kanye's just like this really like humble, kind of like quiet guy.
Before he was like big?
Yeah. It's like when John Mayer was like peak, like 2000 or something, 2001 or something.
John Mayer's such an idiot.
And now they've like done the complete swap. Well, not complete swap. John Mayer's not that humble, but he's like sort of had some kind of like revolution.
No, I think he like
he's more down to earth, I guess.
Yeah, when he was doing like Bodies of Wonderland and stuff, like I literally think he thought he was the best guitarist in the world.
Oh yeah.
But now he's playing for the Grateful Dead, and I'm just like, I mean, the Grateful Dead are like, I love the Grateful Dead. I know there's a lot of people that hate the Grateful Dead, but it's just like, I'm no purist, but he does not belong playing with those fucking fried out like acid dudes. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It doesn't make sense to me.
But like he did the BB King thing for a while too. So
Crossroads thing.
I think he likes getting into something.
Do you think he just pays money to get into places? Because like he's good, but no one needs him to show up at a jam session. Like when he does those things, like remember that thing where it was BB King and Derek Trucks?
Oh yeah.
And who else was on the stage? Was it just him and John Mayer? Was it
I
just?
think there was the three of them.
It wasn't Blake Mills. Blake Mills wasn't there. It was Derek Trucks and BB King. And I'm like, okay, Derek Trucks, he deserves to be here. Not because he's the best, just because he made something new. Like, I honestly, like, you think about Stevie and like, and even Blake is like the later, I don't know. But I don't think anyone was doing that hyper clean, hyper like expressive vocal. Like, I don't know. Derek Trucks, I feel like has a thing.
Yeah.
But like John Mayer's like, why was he there? He just does Stevie.
Yeah.
I mean, wannabe Stevie. I don't know. Maybe people are going to fucking hate me after this. I think John Mayer's cool. But I think the coolest thing about John Mayer is Pino Palladino and Steve Jordan playing for him.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
All right, well, I have a gift for you to say thank you for coming on the podcast.
Here's the door.
Not the door. I got these tote bags
what?
made for guests.
You shouldn't have done that.
So this is for you.
That's so cute. That could fit a record in there.
It's actually designed exactly to fit a record in there. That was like the key requirement of the podcast tote bags.
I want to bring you a present.
To fit a record. No, it's not. It's not a reciprocal situation.
Okay, that would be weird.
Just come on the podcast again.
Dude, if you would ever want me to come back, I would. I'd see in my mind, my anxiety is telling me that like this was a bad choice.
Oh,
but
well.
I would love to come back.
Have a sleep on it.
I really feel like, you choosing to have me was a bad choice. That's what I meant by that. Not me coming in here.
No, not at all.
I will always love to come and talk about anything like that. Anyone wants to talk. I love talking about stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I think that what you're doing is really, really beautiful. And I hope that, I know I said that like 3 times. I hope that you keep one of those in there because it is.
Thanks, mate.
Cool.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for joining us on Our Drummers Musicians. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world of another musician as much as I did. Help us grow by leaving a review and sharing the podcast with your friends, family, favorite artist, or anyone else who might enjoy it. For more info and updates, visit ourdrummersmusicians.com. See you next time.